if you go home and you look at your homework before, or pardon me, look at your quiz before you start your homework. If you look at your quiz afterwards, if you ask yourself, what did I do wrong on that quiz? Why did I do that wrong? What didn't I understand? And then you say, oh yeah, well now I know better. Now I know that I should have, whatever it is, that's what we want from you. If you're doing that, you are being perfect. Okay? You guys do realize you don't have to be math students. You don't have to be math scholars when you get older, right? Okay. Now, you may turn out to be math scholars. Some people will surprise themselves. But what is very important is that you learn how to go about your business. If you do that, you're in great shape. Okay? Anybody here know what they want to be when they get older? Does anybody? Go ahead.
A music teacher.
Music teacher.
Chemist.
Chemist. Anybody else?
Artist.
Artist.
Air Force.
I thought you just said a half a horse. What did you say?
Air Force.
Air Force. Every one of these things requires a way of going about your business, a way to do things the best as possible. For instance, one thing we don't want to do is look like we're almost ready to fall asleep. Okay? Feet down, let's go. There we go. All right, so let's go through these questions. Let's try to clean them up a little bit. And I think you'll find today's lesson to be pretty cool. I think we'll have some fun with it, okay? First one, what are 3 negatives and 4 more negatives? -7, very good. Oh, bad. -7. Now, let me ask you, before you think that's very difficult, what are, I said this yesterday, what are 3 weird-looking green pens? And 4 more weird-looking green pens? 7 green weird-looking pens?
Yes.
So likewise, if this is 3 negatives and 4 more negatives altogether, I have 7 negatives. Okay, next. -9 plus 5. What am I going to get on that, Rach?
-4.
-4. How come it's negative? How come it's not positive? That's one way to do it. You could say, I remember the rule. The rule is to subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. But think about this. Isn't the list for 9, 4, 7, 8, 9, automatically going to be longer than the list for 5? So when they go die, won't the bigger number always have the longer list every single time? Okay, question?
Did I get number 3 right or wrong? Because the way you marked it, I can't really.
You know, it looked like you erased, so I gave you credit on this one. I really couldn't tell if you meant it to be negative or if you meant it to be positive. So I wrote okay, so I gave you credit. All right? Now, I see the 2 minuses in a row. Circle agar. What's 7 plus 4? 11. Now, some people put -11. -11 would be wrong. Okay? It's got to be +11. Next, what are 5 ends and 3 ends? Everybody?
8 ends.
8 ends. Good. And then last but not least, this we improved way, way better on. First off, almost every single person in the room, almost, a couple of didn't do it, almost everybody knew that the answer had to be x squared. God bless. Which means we had learning. That's very good. They said, look, if I got 2 of these things called x squareds and more x squareds, then my answer has to be x squareds in the same way that the weird-looking green pen and more weird-looking green pens, they don't turn around and make purple elephants. Weird green pens and weird green pens has to be weird green pens, so x squareds and x squareds has to be x squareds when I'm adding them. But what is +2 and -9?
-7.
-7.
Okay, God. No, I put positives. Yeah, and then I got that wrong.
Okay, so -7x squared is the correct answer. Now, how do you handle this going forward tonight? What are you going to do before you start your homework?
Look it over.
You just look over the quiz. And what you want to do is you want to find your mistake. In your case, remember to look for that sign of the big. You know what's really weird about you is you were the one who explained why the bigger number has to have it. Okay. Next, you do your homework, and then before you stop your homework, I should say right when you're done with the regular part of your homework, you just take another little bit, 45 seconds, a minute, minute and a half, to look over your quiz again and make sure that you remember what you did wrong so you don't repeat that today. You might even want to peek at it in lunch tomorrow, right? Just so that you, oh yeah, don't want to make that mistake, all right? Any questions about the quiz? All right, good. What we look for every day is improvement. That you're going about your business in such a way that you want to become the best student you could possibly become. All right, so now we have a do it, and we changed it up a little bit today. A couple of days in a row it'll be like this. This is to make sure that we understand the skills we've been talking about the last couple of days. Chris, you with me here, bud?
Yeah.
All right, everybody, 5 negatives, 2 negatives. What do we got?
7 negatives.
7 negatives. Good. I got negative. Now remember, some people think this is subtract, and you can do it that way, but you're making it more difficult on yourself. The easiest way to do this, what kind of 8 is this?
Negative 8.
And what kind of 3 is this?
Negative 3.
And everything's addition. What's negative 8 and negative 3?
Negative 11.
Negative 11. Good. Circle. Agregar. What's 4 plus 4?
8.
8. Nice. All right, now we get into the multiplication and division rules, and this is what we worked on yesterday. Who can tell me what we talked about yesterday with multiplying and dividing and positives and negatives? Who can remind the whole class what it was we learned about that yesterday? No one? Go ahead.
When you multiply, you take the sign.
That's an incomplete thought. There's elements of yes in that, but the incompleteness makes it a no. Okay, see, that's honesty. What that means to me, the fact that you guys were not firing your hands up and instantly telling me means that you didn't really understand yesterday's lesson as well as you should have. Now, that could be my fault. It doesn't have to be your fault. Okay? So we're gonna hit it again on these 3 questions, and you'll notice that every do it is gonna have some of these on there. Next series of quizzes is gonna have some of these on there. And the reason we put it on, we don't put it on because we say, I wanna make your life miserable. We put it on because we say they gotta learn how to do this. And once they learn how to do this, they'll be better at math for the entire year. Look, here's the deal. 8 times 5 is 40. Does everybody agree with that? Okay. So I know the number part of this is 40. The question is it going to be positive 40 or is it gonna be what?
Negative.
Negative 40. The answer is negative 40. Now let me explain why. I started with a positive number. Does everybody agree that that 8 is a positive 8? I multiplied by a negative. When you multiply by a negative, you've got to change the sign. Spencer, you with me, buddy? You look like you're starting to snooze on me here, and I'm losing you. You good? All right. When you multiply by a negative, you have to change the sign of the first number. To negate something means to make it its opposite. Gentlemen, if we have a girlfriend, boys, and you say the wrong thing. For instance, if your girlfriend comes up to you and says, anything like, you don't love me,
Oh, shit.
you are in a world of trouble.
I'm like 13.
You're in such a world of trouble.
You change the subject, right?
Exactly. Just change the subject. Because if you turn around and say, oh, yes, dear, I love you. She goes, then why don't you show it?
I'm 13.
Right? And then if you say, no, dear, I don't love you. Well, now, if you say, how am I supposed to love you? I'm 13. It gets really ugly. Really ugly, really fast, okay?
She's asking for too much, then.
There you go. See, I'm not ready for commitment, woman. So it's a tough spot to be in. Now, what we want to remember here is this. If you mess up with your woman, if you don't answer a question rightly, you have to negate the mess up. Now, how can you negate a mess up with a woman?
Change the subject.
Candy,
What?
flowers,
Candy's cheaper.
little teddy bears, right? If your girlfriend is mad at you, if she's upset with you, let's ask Angela here. Angela, the man has upset you. Little love coaching right here. The man has upset you. He has ruined your day.
No, you didn't.
And then he turns around and he goes and he gets you a box of your favorite chocolates and the teddy bear and an I'm sorry card.
What else? Some peanut butter.
Oh, you want more? You
That's what I'm saying,
negotiated
it's too
for more?
much.
Now, the point is, do you feel the same way you did before he got that? No. And what she's saying is, you are negating, you are negating the bad thing that you did. Likewise, if he turns around all day long and treats you like a queen, and treats you like gold, And then he says something stupid like, you got ugly eyes.
Oh shit.
Hey, watch the mouth. Doesn't that turn around and say to you, I am not, like you're going to cop a toot, aren't you? Yeah, the toot is coming. So what's very important is that you understand that to negate something, to make it its opposite. If you're having a bad day and you negate it, it becomes a
Good day.
good day. If you're having a good day and you negate it, it becomes a
Bad day.
bad day. So likewise, when I'm multiplying by the 5 here, okay, let's just do it piece by piece. The 8 times the 5 is the 40. But you're also multiplying by that little negative there. And I'm going to switch whatever it was. If it was a positive, and I switch it, it becomes a negative. So it's negative 40. Now look here. Again, what's 8 times 5?
40.
40. So I know that part of it's going to be there. But now I'm again multiplying by a negative. When you multiply by a negative, what do you have to do? Change that first sign. So that negative becomes a positive, so the answer is just 40.
Okay.
Over here, let's just do the division part. What's 20 divided by 4? 5. Now, it's a negative to start. What kind of number am I dividing by, positive or negative?
Positive.
Do I switch the sign if I divide by a positive?
No.
No, so it stays negative 5.
Oh, yes.
Okay? So the revelation from yesterday was, if you multiply or divide by a negative, you're going to switch that sign. Okay, next up. Mark says the product of 3 negative integers is positive because the signs are the same. So a negative times a negative times a negative, according to Mark, is going to be a positive. Now, some of you may have learned a rule last year that said if the signs are the same, the answer is positive. Probably heard that sign or that rule. Let's see if it's true. I'm going to multiply by a negative. Here's the multiply. I'm multiplying by this one, so that means I have to switch the first sign. The first sign is a negative, so when I switch it, what do I get?
Negative.
Positive.
Oh, my bad.
Now, I'm going to multiply by a negative again. So if I started with a positive and I multiply by another negative, don't I have to switch it again?
Yes.
So it should come out to be a negative.
See, that's
So the answer is going to be a negative, not a positive, and Mark is wrong. Okay? Any questions? Preguntas?
No.
We're good?
Yeah.
Okay. Today, we talk about exponents. Why didn't that change? Okay. So today, we talk all about exponents. We want to learn some basics about this. All right, so let's have you write out 5x to the third. Go ahead. Write it out as a series of factors. Let's see what you remember from last year. Who remembers factors? Who remembers how to work with exponents? Okay, so this guy would be 5x, x, x. Why did I write x, x, x? Yeah, the word you're looking for in math is you use it as a factor 3 times. See this 3 here, guys? That 3 means that I have to write the x 3 times.
Couldn't you just do 5 times 5 times 5?
No. Try the next one.
Oh.
Jesus Christ.
See the difference? Hold it. What does... I love the Lord. I really do. He means
God.
so much to me. What does he have to do with 5 to the third, x to the third?
Oh
All right.
All right, I did that.
X.
So Jason, what are we going to get here, buddy?
No, I did it.
5 what?
X, 5 times
Somebody help him out. Looking for a volunteer here. Go ahead.
5,
5 times 5 times 5 times what?
times X, times X, times X.
Good. Why did you put the 5 3 times here, but you did not put the 5 3 times there? Why?
Because the exponent wasn't after the number.
That's right. Check this out. Mr. Marker, do you see the little 3 here?
Answer.
That means I have to put 3 5s. Over here, was there a little 3 above the 5? That's why I only put the 1 up. Okay? Next, write 10 to the 5th.
I'm gonna get this wrong too.
All right, Rach, talk to me. What do we got?
Number is 10 and then like 5 x's.
Why 5 X's?
It just says 5.
Here's the-
no, there's no 5 x's. There's no x.
That's right. So what do I put 5 times?
Times
10.
The 10, that's right. So it's 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. Well done. That, folks, is what you call thinking. Okay, next one. 4n to the 5th. What are we going to have there? Chris, fire away.
4 and.
Beautiful. Excellent. So we are representing with exponents, and there's this word, right, as factors. Factors are the things that are being multiplied. So you notice here, it was x to the third, so I did x, x, x. 10 to the 5th, so the exponent only applied to the 10, so it was 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Here it's, look, it's on both the 5 and the 3, so I wrote the 5 3 times as factors, and the x 3 times as factors, okay? Now, the next one, I want you to not only write it out as factors, but then tell me what it equals. What's 10 to the third? Gabriella? Well, tell me what it would be as factors.
Would it be, 1,000?
That's the final answer, but what is it as factors?
Oh, 10 times.
That's right, 10 times 10 times 10, and that is 1,000. Very good. Okay, let's do 10 to the 4th. Derek, what do we think?
10,000.
It is going to be 10,000, but what is it as factors?
10 times 10 times 10 times 10.
Right, and that is 10,000. Very good. So just a little trick here. Just a little trick. Do you see how the exponent's 3 on the 10? That means 3 zeros. Here the exponent's 4 on a 10. So what is it going to be?
4 0.
4 zeros. So that's a little shorthand trick. It only works with 10. Doesn't work with any others. Okay? All right, let's go to the next page. So now we have a table, and I feel like I'm competing a little bit here, guys. Ladies, here we have a table. Let's represent things as a table. So in this case, it's 3 to the n power, and this is telling us what n is. So the first one is 3 to the 1. What is 3 to the 1, everybody?
3.
3. What's 3 to the 2? Not 6, no. 9. See, 3 to the 2, people go, oh, I got to multiply. 3 times 2 is 6, but 3 squared means write 3 2 times. So that's 3 times 3. What about 3 to the third? What's that going to be?
20.
27. Very good. Because 3 to the third is 3 times 3 times 3 again. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. Okay. What about negative 2 to the n power? Negative 2 is the first one, because if n is 1, it just means you write it once. So this is negative 2. Now, if I square it, it means negative 2 times negative 2. See if you can figure that out. Be careful about those signs. Okay? Spencer, I look like I'm definitely losing you here. You're kind of staring off like. If you had a comfortable chair, you'd be out by now. God bless. Okay, what is negative 2? Here's the value of n. What's negative 2 to the second power? Go ahead. Positive 4 is correct. We know that 2 times 2 is 4, and I'm multiplying by a negative, so I have to change that sign. Positive 4. Okay, so now 2 to the third will be negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Now, to help us out a little bit, we already said that this is 4. So you really only have to do 4 times negative 2. See what we get. Miss Avicillas, what do you think?
Negative 8.
Negative 8 is good. Okay, here we go. 4 times 2 is 8, we know that. I'm multiplying by a negative, so I have to change the first sign, and it becomes -8. Okay, let's do -2 to the fourth, which means I have to take the answer for the third, and again multiply it by -2. So I have -8 times -2. What do you think we're going to get there? -8 times -2. Go ahead.
Positive 16.
Positive 16, good. Does anybody notice any patterns in this table? What I wrote in red, anybody see any patterns? Rach, what's one pattern you see?
It goes up by 2.
It's doubling.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Caitlin, do you see a pattern?
Negative to positive.
Yeah, negative, positive, negative, positive. What do you think the next one's going to be?
No.
Negative.
Negative. What do you think the next one's going to be?
Positive.
Positive. And that pattern will repeat itself because didn't we say when you multiply by a negative you have to switch the sign? So look, what am I doing every time? Switching the sign. So that makes sense. Okay? All right.
Positive.
Let's have a little fun here. Who thinks they can get this one right?
I think.
Oh, we got one person thinks he's got it right already. Two people think they got it right already. I'm gonna go take a peek at what Carmen has. Oh, you needed to figure out the exact value. Let's see what you got. Ooh, we have right. We have right, and because you got that right,
Oh my god, I knew you were gonna give me
I'm going to give you a cookie. You're having a great day. You had 100 on a quiz and you nailed this? We are looking at like rocking at math person.
I got it right there.
Yes, but no, you messed up a little bit. In the beginning, you're doing okay, but as you went along, you messed up.
I did it.
You did.
Nice.
All right, I'm only giving out one cookie. I'm almost out of cookies. Okay, ready? Check this out. Hold on, ready?
I did it.
What's -1 to the first power? It's obvious. Hey,
Yeah, very
Forgot to put it.
obviously -1. What's -1 to the second power?
It's all -1.
It's going to be 1. A lot of people think 2 or -2, but it means -1 times -1. 1 times 1 is 1, and when I multiply by a negative, I have to change the sign to a positive. So it equals +1. What's the next one going to be?
Negative 1.
-1. See that pattern again, because it's a negative here? Pattern's changing every time. What's next? 1. Next?
-1.
Next? Next? So sometimes seeing a pattern can save you a lot of time. Okay, next up. So far, we've covered regular exponents, and everything, boys, everything that we've talked about so far this period, you should know from last year. But the last thing we have to consider are negative and zero exponents. Okay? Now, this is a very important deal. Anything to the 0 power is 1. X stands for anything. Anything. I don't care what it is. To the 0 power is always going to be 1. Say that with me. Anything
Anything
to the 0 power
to the 0 power
is 1.
It's 1.
Anything to the 0 is 1.
anything to the 0 is 1.
That's right. So what is 7 to the 0?
1.
1. What is 9 to the 0?
1.
What's -3 to the 0?
1.
What is, actually this is -1. Let me rephrase. -3 to the 0 is 1. -3, we'll talk more about that another day. That's kind of tricky. What about 2/3 to the 0? 1. Anything to the 0 is 1. Let me show you why very quickly. Ready? Check it out. This is an example of, say, x to the third over x to the third. And by rule, I know you don't know this yet, we're going to cover it in a short little while, in a couple of days. You have to subtract exponents. So 3 minus 3 is 0. That's where I get x to the 0 from. What is anything divided by itself? 1, right? What's 7 divided by 7?
1.
10 divided by 10?
1.
A billion divided by a billion?
1.
So this thing, x to the third, divided by x to the third, also has to be 1. So it's both subtract exponent 0 and divide by itself 1. So those questions are pretty simple. Let's take a look at this one. It says 3 to the 0. What's that? Guys, 3 to the 0 is? 1. What about y to the 0? What's that? 1, right? Anything to 0 is 1. Now we get into something a little bit different. A negative exponent. Some things, stand. Go, stand up.
Oh, I can't stand that.
Yes, you can. Get up. Some things in this world are best approached through a military perspective. Some things are not best handled with these warm, fuzzy youth of today. Sometimes you just gotta, hey, belly in, chest out. Let's go. Suck it up. Hey, just, I'm going to say something, you're going to repeat it after me. Hot negative exponent, you're going to say reciprocal. Hot negative exponent. Reciprocal. Louder. Hot negative exponent. Reciprocal. One more time. Hot negative exponent. Reciprocal. We will pick up at that point tomorrow.
I am not doing
Okay, then.
At ease. Hasta la vista. Vaya con Dios. Toodaloo. Ta-ta. Arrivederci. Smile a lot. Ciao.
When I said I don't live in
Adios, amigos y amigas. Cheerio. Toodaloo. Ta-ta. Garusharus. See ya. Have fun. Enjoy.